Travis here at Boss Tables, going to explain the difference in bed sizes. So our tables are sold as, like, the general sizes are 4x8, 5x10, 6x12, 8x24, 10x24, that kind of thing. Every table is sized, you know, for a certain sheet size. So if you've got a 5x10 table, it's actually 5 foot 5 inches of cutting area and 10 foot 5 inches of cutting area. So you don't have to have your sheet perfectly aligned on the machine itself. There are other manufacturers that leave you like a ½ inch or an inch, and that is pretty tight, when, especially if you're dealing with a heavier plate. We also square the material on the table, unless you have auto plate squaring, which is an option. But you can, essentially all we do is set the material on the table and use a pry bar to square the material up. Our tables are constructed, excluding the MVP. The MVP is just a tray. It's our most economic model that we have. But the Pro, WHC, HD, and Elite, they all have 5 inches or more of water cutting area, and then 7 inches of storage minimum. So if you buy an HD or an Elite, it'll be 10 inches and 12 inches of storage, all built right into the table. We also have the little roller balls for guys that are loading sheets by hand. That's pretty handy. But essentially the big takeaway is the bed size is larger than the apparent material, which allows for easier loading, easier setup, and just a general overall experience. Travis at Boss Tables here, going to go over how we maintain good speed and good positional accuracy. We do that by using size 30 millimeter linear bearings on both the x-axis and the y-axis. The z-axis is size 25. It's very, very sturdy. The gear rack is helical gear rack, which means there's less chatter compared to straight gear rack. This is all a modular system, so it's very easy to maintain, replace, and source at a later date. We use, on our servo tables, we use 10-to-1 sub 3 arc minute gearboxes. They're very, very accurate. This is a very, very nice setup. On the WHC and the MVP, that is controlled by stepper motors. So if you look right here, this is a servo motor. This guy is keeps track of the positional accuracy. If there's any deviations in step, signal, or loss of power, the machine will shut down. Essentially, everything is, you know, driven on linear ways, and it's all helical gear racking, maintaining a very smooth, accurate motion. Also, one thing to add on this gearbox, this is a tapered roller bearing and not just a typical standard RS bearing per se. And this guy has 3 times the radial load, and it is a very, very smooth and accurate gearbox. Travis with Boss Tables here, going to go over different power units and different options that you really, really need to consider when buying a machine. So this guy is a PowerMax 45. Good little machine. What it does well is it does everything well up to 1/4 inch. We've got guys that are doing more with it, but it's not really where you want to be in life. PowerMax 65, so the 45, 65, and 85 are all single phase units. The 45 is good till 1/4 inch, 65 is good up till 1/2 inch, the 85 is good up till 3/4 inch. And now, do you want to run your 85 at 3/4 inch all day? I don't really think so. So for instance, you can take a PowerMax 85 and run it at 65 amps and have a 100% duty cycle. But same goes with your 65. So if you are running your power unit wide open, it may actually shut down because it is overheating. So the 105 is a 3-phase machine. That guy comes in 240 volts, 3-phase only, and the 125 comes in 480 volt 3-phase. So if you don't have 3-phase, you can run an oxyacetylene torch, and either way, we have a solution for guys that have single phase, guys that have 3-phase. Let's say you want a 125. You can then get a step-up transformer. If you only have 240, we can help you, work with your electrician and then make sure that all that is all settled before you get your machine. So in general, it is absolutely imperative that you size your power unit to the correct material that you are going to be cutting. And you can switch out different power units for different torches, we can help you with all that information and vice versa. Kellberg Smart Focus 200, 300, and 400. So the Kellberg, where it really shines is large plate processing if you want to go really fast. Compared to oxy-fuel, this guy at 400 amps will do 2 inches at 32 inches a minute, which is over 3 times as fast as oxy-fuel. It can essentially do 3 times as much work with one single machine, and it costs less per inch to actually cut the material. So a little bit about the 200, 300, 400 series is 200 is good for inch, inch and a quarter, 300 is good for inch and a half, 400 is good for 2 inch. We do need to run an air booster with this as well because you need to maintain a minimum of 150 psi. So we can supply that. I would much rather supply it than not, because your cut quality will definitely suffer. Also, too, another big factor is that it has to be 480 volts. So if you have 240 volts, we can help you size a transformer, work through with your electrician to get you to 480, so you can still run it. So just because you don't have 480 doesn't mean, you know, that it's not going to work. But if you have single phase, it's not going to work very well unless you get a big generator or something. So the amperage that these machines need is 62 amps to run a 200. This is a max draw. 300 is 95 amps, and the 400 is 140 amps. So it does take quite a bit of power to run these machines. But again, this is for larger plate processing. You know, the 1-to-1 rule still applies. We can go down below 1-to-1. So for instance, like we can get like a 7/8 hole an inch and a quarter fairly well. But you know, we can also get 1/2 inch holes an inch and a quarter, but it's not consistent. So you need to be conscious of what features and what the parts are exactly. Travis with Boss Tables here, explaining the durability and differences in construction compared to our models. What this guy is a Pro, so our WHC and our Pro are constructed with, and our MVP as well, is a 4x4 boxed, fully welded frame. Everything on the chassis is completely welded. Essentially, you know, these machines are rated up to about 1.5 inches a plate. They do very well. We've never had anybody break a machine ever. The only problems that we've ever had are people hitting the motors with, let's say, a forklift. But we have a nice steel constructed weldment here that goes onto an aluminum bridge. This is an ideal machine for sheet metal processing and or light plate work, and essentially this table is constructed in this manner to maintain a very, very quick, nimble machine that will essentially cut with very intricate, fast movements compared to our HD model and our HD Elite. So we talked a little bit about the WHC, the Pro, and the differences in the water tank with that versus the MVP. So this guy is an HD Elite. This guy has a steel welded bridge and machined bearing lands, both on the X and the Y axis. This is a big industrial machine. This guy will be actually getting a 5 horsepower drill. That is one of the main reasons why you'd want a bridge like this. So you can actually, the drill that we're putting on will actually exert about 1,500 pounds of down pressure. So nice heavy bridge for that. It also does better for multiple oxy-fuel heads, multiple plasma heads, that kind of thing. Just dealing with the amount of heat. Now, the amount of heat with our Pro, WHC, and MVP is not near as great, even with a single oxy-fuel torch, via that we have 10 inches of room under the bridge. Heat is not so much an issue on that. But this guy, if you had 4 or 5 torches daisy chained together, cutting 3-inch plate, the plate alone will put off a lot of heat. So also too, with multiple torches, heavy plate cutting, you want more water. So the construction of this table actually has 10 inches of water and 12 inches of storage underneath. And in the bed we use slag trays because the amount of physical material that's going to get displaced into them trays from cutting is quite great. You actually remove a lot more material when you're cutting with oxy-fuel as well. It's a very, very wide kerf. So essentially we have a deeper table, a lot heavier construction, a lot heavier frame. We don't have under storage on this guy to help disperse the weight. Then this machine is actually an 8x24. Travis and Boss Tables here. We're going to go over the differences in software. They both will work seamlessly with a DXF, so as long as your CAD program that you want to use from a third party will export as a DXF, that's not a problem. Both of these softwares work very, very well. Some of the key points that we got versus FlashCut versus Halo is FlashCut has the ability to auto nest, fix broken parts, and do arc smoothing. That is a very, very nice feature. Halo runs on Linux, so you don't have to deal with Windows, but Windows is nice because then you can easily network in and create different networks, shared folders, and all that kind of stuff. So they both have their benefits and both are very, very good. So Halo is ran off of a Linux computer, and you would essentially nest your parts in SheetCam and then send them over into Halo. And Halo has a lot of the same great operating features that FlashCut does in the CNC. You're able to back up, reverse, collision detection, digital torch height control, and essentially they're very, very compatible on the CNC side. But where FlashCut really shines is the ability to draw your parts in the same program, create a toolpath in the same program, and send it to CNC all in the same program. The ability to work with art and use silhouette images is also very, very nice. You can scan in an image of a piece of art or take a picture of it and draw with it right in the software. It is very, very slick that way. But that being said, in closing, both of these softwares, this is just a little bit more economical than FlashCut, but FlashCut has a few features that may really, really get you to where you want to be. Travis and Boss Tables here, and we are going to describe some of the key features that make a reliable cutting machine. One of those would be digital torch height, and what that is a measurement taken out of the power unit that measures the arc length and gives you a voltage reading, and then the machine will automatically adjust for the voltage reading and maintain a constant arc height or cut height. So essentially, if your plate is not perfectly level, the machine will automatically ride up and down that bow or that warpage in your plate, ensuring that you get the parts that you're looking for. And also too, it saves on the consumables when you're not dragging or cutting too high. Long arcs and short arcs and dragging the torch will essentially cause premature consumable use and or wear that's unnecessary. So all of our machines have that standard. Another thing that every machine that we build has is a magnetic breakaway. So and what that is essentially it's a little switch right here, and if the torch ever becomes dislodged, it will then shut the machine down and allow the operator to correct the issue, whether it's a tip up or a potential bad consumable choice or vice versa. So another key feature that every one of our machines has is the ability for ohmic touch off. And what that is essentially this acts like an ohm meter. So when you go to home your machine or touch off on the plate, it ensures that you get a proper touch off. Lighter sheet metal, when the torch comes down, it will actually press the material down if you're not using ohmic. And then when it jumps up to pure sight, the material will follow the torch and you're essentially firing it directly into the plate, causing premature consumable wear. Guys that do heavy plate work, it's not near as necessary because the physical weight of the torch will not depress the material down. Another key feature that we have is the ability to do a mechanical touch off. So let's say you're cutting on parts or your material is very rusty, is painted, powder coated, or there's a sticker essentially that the steel manufacturer put on it. It will allow it to touch off when ohmic is not able to sense the material due to lack of continuity in the circuit. So those features are all very, very necessary when plasma cutting, and if you're considering a table that doesn't have them, these three features are very, very critical to having good success while cutting. Travis and Boss Tables here, going to talk about what is the working side, the parking area of your table. So essentially, the machine right now is parked, and what that allows you to do is bring your material in unobstructed. So this area back here you're not able to cut back here. Essentially, it's just to get the bridge, the gantry out of the way, so that way you can fly your material in and either back your forklift out or fly it in with an overhead crane. This would be what I consider the working side of your table. So the other side has a cable track and the controller box on it. So you don't want to have your guys or yourself loading and unloading material over the cable track, over the controller. This is the side that you're going to want to load and unload from, or the other option would be to come in from the end that the machine is not parked on. So essentially, if you notice, this machine is on casters. We build the machines on casters so we can park them in position, then wheel them out and pick them up, put them into packaging. So you do not want to run your machine on casters. We have a lot of guys that ask, hey, can I run this machine on casters? But essentially with the inertia, the gantry flying back and forth, it will cause a lot of movement because this machine does move exceptionally fast, and the inertia will cause the machine to rock back and forth on the casters. So you don't want to use casters. We install adjustable leg levelers so you can get your table nice and level and get set up for cutting. Travis at Boss Tables here. We're going to go over some safety features that will help you if things are going really bad or if you need to stop the machine very suddenly. So first off, we've got 2 emergency stops, one located on each side of the gantry. And the reason why that's important is, one, if you're in the way or if something bad is going to happen, you can hit the e-stop button. Also, the thing is too is that if you're cutting and let's say you had a little bit of an issue with setup, or you didn't choose the right material, the right consumables, or just flat out did something wrong, you can hit the e-stop button and stop the cut immediately. Also too, if you choose the wrong consumables, the wrong material, it will then potentially dive or raise up off the material once the digital torch light turns on. But if it dives down into the material, the torch would then trip, break away, and then halt the cut. That would save, there are a lot of machines out there that are manufactured with a rigid torch mount, and that is a terrible idea because I guarantee you will make mistakes, or I guarantee you will also hit a tip up. And what a tip up is if I would cut out the material, the part would then tip up, and then on a rapid travel you could come by and contact that piece of material that's sticking above. That's a very nice feature to have that torch be able to break away and shut the machine down to not destroy the torch and or anything on the machine. Travis and Boss Tables here, and we're going to talk about the location of your operating console or your setup that you would want to use. This is an accessory, this stand right here, which houses your computer, keyboard, mouse. You're able to adjust the monitor, the ability to swing the monitor while you're looking at the machine or essentially trying to work with something is very, very handy. In here we've got some simple storage with some shelves that you can store blueprints, whatever you want to put in there. So a big question that we get a lot of times is, where is the controller going to be? So off of either machine, it's either controlled off a USB or Ethernet cable, and essentially it can be placed in any corner around the machine to fit ergonomically whatever your situation is. Some guys like the controller to be behind the bridge, essentially to keep the loading and working side free and keep everything open. Some guys want it on the opposite side so they're not looking under the gantry, but essentially, we're able to help you with whatever you want to facilitate. Also, when you order your machine, if you could let us know what you want, that would be very helpful so we could get it set up properly before it's installed. Travis at Boss Tables here. Today we're going to go over some of the different accessories that we offer. It can be a great addition to CNC plasma to have the ability to do other operations. This right here is an oxyacetylene torch. It works really well for guys that have single phase but still need to cut that inch, inch and a half, 2 inch. You can pre-drill, do up to 4 inch. Depending on your needs, you could have the need to run high definition plasma as well, which would be talked about at a later date. But high definition will cut thicker material much faster and much cheaper than oxy-fuel instead of burning a lot of gas. This is a pneumatic scribe. What this guy does is it'll mark in weldment locations, bend lines for a press brake if you have a manual press brake or no back gauge, a company logo, serial number, part numbers, anything that would help facilitate your process of manufacturing. This guy is a 3 1/4 horse router. It works really well on materials such as wood, plastic, phenolic, anything. We've got some guys that do aluminum with it as well. Anything that's a softer material, not so much steel. It works really well on soft composite type materials. This guy is a computer stand. What it does is it just allows you to have an operator station. It's portable. Our controllers are ran off of USB cables, so you can kind of place it wherever you'd like. There's storage in here as well. And this screen is actually on this arm, so you can flip it while looking at your machine. It's very handy that way. The rotary cutter, what that guy does is it'll do round. It can do square, but it's a little bit more difficult to set square up. But round 4 or 5-inch tubing fits underneath the gantry right here. There would be a rotary chuck mounted here, and it would then spin, oscillate, and orient your parts so you could cut, you know, whatever you like in the pipe, whether it's fish mouths or holes, squares, circles. It'll do whatever you want. Also, you can actually run the pneumatic scribe on the pipe as well. That's pretty cool. Travis with Boss Tables here. This is the final video of what to consider when looking to buy a CNC plasma table. In closing, the size of your material will directly dictate the size of the table that you're going to need. Whether you want under storage, we can also cut the legs off, make it really short. So a lot of guys that do thicker plate, they like to walk on top of the machine for rigging, either with an overhead crane or vice versa. You should also consider whether you want your table water to drain, whether you want a downdraft, or vice versa. We do have a lot of room under our gantry. That's a nice feature that a lot of people really, really appreciate. Safety features such as an e-stop button, magnetic breakaway, digital torch height is not standard on every table manufacturer either. The choice of plasma, how big, how thick, what kind of material you want to cut, we can help you decide, you know, what your needs are, try and keep you within a budget, or, you know, if you want to go faster, you know, if you double the size of your power unit or get into high def, you can actually run a lot faster. You could have one machine output the same material as 2 machines would, depending on your power unit. So if speed is an issue, we can help you get that figured out. Make sure, you know, how they're going to deliver it is also a really good consideration too. We wrap every machine in basically like boat shrink wrap before we send it out, or we deliver it in our enclosed trailer. Other than that, I mean, basically, you know, another really big thing is tech support, because if the table you buy doesn't have any tech support, it's going to be a disaster. Most of our problems are all self-inflicted, bad choices of settings, consumables, and vice versa, but every now and then we do run across an issue, but we always mop it up as quick as we can to get you guys back up and running. So tech support is one of the main concerns that you should be looking at when considering buying a CNC plasma table. So give us a call and we can help you figure out the rest.